Value-added functionality for TVs and other multimedia components has been kind of a hot button thing for the last several years now. More and more so-called smart electronics excuse me, have been popping up with things like YouTube and Netflix and Vudu and Hulu and Amazon Instant Video and stuff like that automatically programmed into them. You've probably seen things like this on your TV. Your TV is now smart app ready or whatever they've chosen to brand it as. It's just a little bit of additional functionality that brings more of the World Wide Web directly to your television without need for a computer. As more and more content that we ingest goes online, it's becoming more and more important for manufacturers to serve that content as easily as possible to users. Of course, the super nerds of the world are still going to have their media center PCs and their Xboxes and PlayStations wired up to the internet to do all of this stuff. But for people that don't want to have to go that far, that's what these new smarter electronics are for. Now, this begs the question, what do the folks with quote-unquote dumb electronics, like TVs without these apps, do in order to have access to all this stuff? Well, you've got a couple of different options. The first option is you can just hook a computer up to it and run it through your computer, all of the media center thing. Problem is, that's a little bit cumbersome to do sometimes, and again, unless you're one of the aforementioned super nerds, that could be more trouble than it's worth. Your other option is to go with some kind of value-added component that you plug into the side of your TV, and it will serve the components that you're looking for through one of your television's HDMI ports or something like this. Roku and Amazon make them. Chrome makes one. I guess that would be Google via the Google Chromecast, and of course, with things like that, you can mirror Android phones and laptops and things like that to your screen. Apple makes one too, and it's this little thing right here. It's called Apple TV. It is their value-added thing that you can plug into your television, and we're going to take a look at it. Before we go rushing headlong into the unboxing for that, there's actually something else I wanted to highlight beforehand. The whole reason why I got my bigger Mac and a couple of other odds and ends, and am currently borrowing a condenser mic and possibly something else from a very good friend of mine, is because I wanted to start doing more web thingies like this, and I've had several people ask me about doing unboxings, which of course we've done some of those. But one of the first things that came up was, wow, you really should have unboxed your Mac. It wasn't convenient to do that, but while I was opening up my Mac, I was kind of paying attention to some of the neat features about it, and I did want to go ahead and talk about those. First and foremost, this is the box that a 2014 MacBook Air comes in. I've gone ahead and repackaged the main laptop up. I haven't bothered to coil the cords back up. But I wanted to illustrate a point here. For anybody who's ever seen a MacBook Air, you know how tiny this thing is. And yes, Mike, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, God, it would really be nice if he had a digital camera that he could have filmed this with instead of just holding it in front of his really bright orange shirt. Yes, you have my permission to say I told you so, or whatever it is appropriate for a situation like this. In any event, when you take the top of this lid off, you've got a little bit of foam, squishy on the underside of it. And when I say a little bit, I mean like a few millimeters maybe of foam. And then, sitting there, pretty as can be, is your Mac. Now, anybody that's ever used one of these knows... Okay, you little bastard. Come on, get out of there. That this is how thick the laptop is. This is how thick the box is. Now, there's about a millimeter worth of stuffing, a couple millimeters worth of stuffing on the top of the box. I'm going to put this laptop down now, so that I don't drop it. But the rest of the box is actually rather clever. Yes. This is so bad. I'm sorry. And this little pocket right here is where your owner's manual stuff would go, and then down here in this section is where all of like your cords and your adapters would go. But the rest of this casing is just a plastic shell. All of this depth here, the only reason why it's that deep is to accommodate the cords and things like that. For the most part, this is a pretty, concise, condensed little package here. There's not a whole lot of room wasted. For anybody who's ever bought a non-Mac laptop, you know that the laptops normally come in like nuclear football sized. Put that down there next to the nuclear football sized cardboard boxes with all kinds of padding and this and that and the other, and the packaging for them is just absolutely monstrous. So really, Apple is sort of leaning away from safely packaging or the appearance of safe packaging anyway, and more towards the style of the thing. So, and I'm bringing that up. They did kind of the same thing with the iMac box that I'm using right now. Again, I'd actually be able to show you that if I had taken my friend up on his offer of his handheld digital camera, and I have no doubt that the next time I see him, he'll make the offer again, and I'll go, yes, I will absolutely borrow that from you. Or more appropriately, he'll go, well, you had your chance, you can't borrow it now, pricko. And he'd be completely justified in doing that. I digress. The packaging inside of the packaging for the iMac, given how big that it is, it's a 27-inch rig that I bought, is big, and there is styrofoam in it, but the styrofoam is pretty much there to fill in the spaces that aren't immediately occupied by the monitor, so that you end up with a pretty package and not an ugly one. Apple is definitely all about clever packaging and getting to your stuff easily, and that is where this little creature comes into play. This is a 2015 Apple TV. The older Apple TV devices, I guess, were about the size of a CD-ROM drive. For those of you who are old enough to remember what CD-ROM drives were, they were about the size of an old CD-ROM drive, maybe a little bit smaller. For the people that are in the Mac community, they were about the size of a Mac Mini. So they have gotten noticeably smaller in 2015, which I think is outstanding. There's really wasn't ever any reason for them to be that big, and I think Apple finally caught up with the rest of the community and realized that, which is why they made them quite a bit smaller. The reason why they say there wasn't any reason to make them that big is here's a kind of a similar product to what Apple is offering. This is a Belkin product that does screen mirroring and a handful of other things. Your Rokus and your Amazon Fire Sticks and your things like that. This is a teeny tiny, this is less than the length of my index finger, and it's not that thick. They make cookies that are this size. This little gizmo is just an HDMI jack, right into the side of your TV, and then boom, suddenly you've got functionality. So having an Apple TV gizmo be the size of a CD-ROM drive was a little cumbersome. I'm glad to see that they've brought it down in size like that. A little curious about why they made it matte black instead of sticking with the chrome or even the gold for some of their new stuff now. But, it is what it is. This doesn't just do screen mirroring, by the way. This serves all kind of applications like, Netflix and Vudu and Hulu and blah, 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 blah. The reason why I got this, if you're wondering, you've already got this, what do you need the Apple TV thing for? While we're talking about screen mirroring for a second, we weren't just a second ago, but we are now. Screen mirroring is the ability to take what's currently being displayed on your laptop, cell phone, tablet, etc., and throw it up onto the television. Wow, that was probably really loud. You can't see it, but the microphone, literally, with the monitor this far back, see, it's right there. Screen mirroring is the ability to take what you're looking at on your screen and throw it up onto your television or whatever display apparatus happens to be set up for screen mirroring at the time. That's really classy. Sorry. Windows... God, I just hit that microphone again. I'm useless. Windows and Android both use a protocol called Miracast, which is semi-universal, except that Mac doesn't support Miracast without hacking deeply into the system, which Apple discourages strongly. Apple support is through, I believe it's called AirPlay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm relatively certain it's AirPlay, which is the ability for it's screen mirroring for Mac. Is all it is in a nutshell. Your iPhones, your iPads, your Macs can all take advantage of AirPlay equipped devices, so you can throw your stuff up onto the TV. It's Miracast for Mac. I bumped that microphone again. Now, it's important to note that while Apple may sometimes lag behind other companies in terms of the deployment of technologies, I will freely admit here and now that one of the benefits of them lagging behind some of the other technologies is by the time Apple chooses to field a technology of their own, they usually have it pretty stinking perfected. I go on and on about how much I love continuity, the ability to truck voice calls and text messages and this and that and the other between your PC and your phone and whatever. And a lot of folks will immediately stand up and go, well, Google Hangouts has been doing that for a really, really long time. Yes, it has, but continuity works way smoother, and there's no mistaking the ease and the quality of a FaceTime phone call. There's just not. So yes, Apple was definitely late to the party on that one, but their implementation was really pretty gorgeous. So too with the Apple TVs, not just these newer ones, but the older ones as well. Once this little bugger is set up, it's seamless. Your Macs, your iPhones, your iPads will automatically recognize that there's something hanging out in the immediate vicinity and enable you to use it. Super duper useful. As far as device setup, that's always been one of the great things about using Apple products, has been the fact that they just kind of work mysteriously from a network standpoint. Anybody who's ever worked in IT and has tried to set up Macs for printing using something called Bonjour knows exactly what I'm talking about. Otherwise, for the record, Macs are absolutely rubbish at networking. Any event. Onto this little gizmomo, which is why we're actually taking your time today. I'm speaking about myself in the third person, and I still haven't fixed the damn screensaver yet. That's irritating. I have nobody to be upset about but myself. Once you take the cellophane off of this, which I've done previously because I wanted into my toy before it actually occurred to me to make the unboxing video, which, if you'll recall, I warned you about at the beginning of the motorcycle helmet video. So there we go. That's action and reaction and stuff. In any event, once you take the cellophane off of this lovely box, this top shell here just slides right off of it, and we're going to set that aside. And right there, sitting pretty on top, is the Apple TV puck. Dig that out of the box. You end up your cute little Apple TV thing here. It's really only about this big, to give you some kind of an idea. Sits about like that in the palm of my hand. Really not that big. Am extraordinarily pleased with the size of this thing. Of course, it comes in cellophane, which I'm immediately going to remove, and there's some kind of a warning here. Nope, not going to read it. Take that off and set it aside, and it's Apple TV on the top, and There's another darling Apple logo on the bottom of it, just in case you decide to pick it up and look at the bottom every once in a while and finally remember that, that's not just where the traction stuff is. There's an Apple logo down there too. Way to go, guys! Way to go. There's some cellophane-y type stuff around the edge of this to keep the sides of your Apple TV thing all nice and shiny, and I hate that. It's not even clear. This is black too. What's the point of that? Yeah, that had to have cost extra. And speaking about that, while I'm ranting about this was $69. That is a fantastic price point for something like this. Really, that is just stinking outrageous. for this. Really very impressed with the price point, especially from Cupertino. Apple's notorious for having slightly too expensive shizzle, and we won't debate that here. But I will say that $69 for a 2015 Apple TV rig, really not unhappy with that price point at all. On the back of it, obviously, let's see, light it up with the reflection there. There we go. You've got power HDMI. It looks like that's SPDIF for optical audio. Cannot see. Yep, that's optical audio. Looks like micro USB on the back of it. And Ethernet. Lots of wonderful, wonderful things there. Standard connectivity for something like this. Again, not displeased in the least. Very much so looking forward to hooking that little thing up. What else have we got inside the box? Apple TV remote, which is good. Form over function here. There's not a whole lot of protective anything inside of this box, but their packaging is just absolutely lovely, even if it's proving to be kind of a pain in the ass to get that remote out. This remote is tiny and elfin. It's just, yeah, it's adorable. Again, curious here, you'll notice that this remote, it also has this cellophane crap on the outside of it. 20 points for wanting to keep all of my stuff smooth and unscuffed here, but that's really awful. This is that non-polished chrome-looking aluminum thing. You're not going to get smudges all over this. I don't see why they put the cellophane on it. The buttons, great travel, great. They don't feel cheap at all. Looks like a battery slot on the bottom of it to replace your batteries. Right there, so that's absolutely outstanding. Standard infrared boomer on the front of it. Not at all unhappy with the way it feels, even if it feels small. It doesn't feel cheap. It feels good and sturdy and firm in my hand, and I absolutely like that. But why do they go with the brushed aluminum on this and with the black shiny for the Apple TV rig? I don't understand that. What else is under here? What else is under here indeed? Looks like we have a power cord that I just thought of something bad, and I'm trying to think of a way to say it in a politically correct fashion, and it's not happening, so I probably got nothing to say it. Okay, this is somebody's job. To do this. This is somebody's job. I really can't say any of the other things that I'm thinking about, because that would be rude. Stupid screensaver, I swear to God. What else is in the box? I'm assuming that's the instruction manual. Yes, that's the instruction manual, which has also been bound with cellophane. How many dollars of cellophane did I pay for on this stupid thing? God almighty. And like every other Apple product, that's... God love them. These are... I don't know if you can see this. Let's kind of turn this strangely. These are Apple stickers. My iMac came with these. My MacBook came with these. Now my Apple TV comes with these. Branding geniuses, those people out there in Cupertino. Stickers, free stickers, place them everywhere. Especially for people with kids. God, this is a death's knell. If you end up with one of these on your refrigerator, on the back of your pants without knowing about it. Oy vey. In any event, that is the unboxing for the Apple TV 2015. Again, not unhappy at all with the product just from an unboxing standpoint. We will throw up a review of it a little bit later after I've had a chance to tinker with it.